Hi, my name is Jessie. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am going to talk about my fertility story. It all started when I was about 32. I had just met my husband. He actually was traveling for work, so he was out of town a lot, over 6 hours away. That was just our situation. I went to my yearly OB appointment. I think I had just switched doctors. I think it was my first appointment with him. His general practice, he does ultrasounds, which I had never seen before. I had never had anybody do that for me at a regular just OB yearly appointment. So I told him that I was having heavy bleeding. He's like, okay, let's take a look. Did the ultrasound, and he said, it looks like you have fibroids. I had never heard of that. I didn't know that was a thing, but they do cause heavy bleeding. And being that the heavy bleeding, I hadn't had that forever, so it was like brand new-ish. I mean, it was probably a little bit, a little while before it became something bad. But for the most part, it was pretty new, a year or two. So then he told me that if I wanted to start a family, I should probably start thinking about it relatively soon, which scared me a little bit, I would say. I always said that I wanted kids by the time I was 25, and I was at 32, so I was ready. I had just met my husband, and we got along great, and it seemed like the right time. Seemed like the right time, the right person, and someone was telling me that if I wanted that, I had to start. So we talked about it and made the decision to start trying. He was out of town, which made it hard for the first, probably, I think he was gone for 8 months. So the first 8 months were harder, obviously, to try because it had to be at specific timing. I did go visit him. I probably went and visited him. I know that on some occasions I went and visited him while I was ovulating because obviously that was the plan. And didn't always work out. I was working, and if it happened to be on a weekend that I went to go visit him, then I would go. It was like a 6-hour drive, I think, up. We live in Wisconsin by Milwaukee, and he was working up in like near Superior in Wisconsin and Duluth area, Minnesota. Once he came back and started working local again, we tried for about 2 years, and in that 2 years we did blood work. We did I went and saw a fertility doctor. I had tests done. He had tests done, and everything came back fine. So they said, just keep trying. I had an HSG, which was awful for me. Most procedures are not great for me. I think I just get all worked up. I do this like weird pass out thing. I get all weird. I was trying everything I could to get pregnant. I did herbal things where I would drink herbal teas and supplements, and I did all the vitamins. I took prenatals for, I think, the entire 5 years. I was taking folate. I was taking vitamin D. I was taking everything that they told me to take, or everything that the internet told me to take, everything that the fertility specialist told me to take, everything anybody who had ever had a baby was taking. I tried it. I did acupuncture for about 4 months. Nothing. All the tests came back fine. So I didn't understand why it wasn't working. Why was I not getting pregnant? So then, after a little over 2 years of trying, we decided for me to get a myomectomy, which is a procedure to get your fibroids removed. It's a major surgery, and I got the robotic assisted myomectomy. They do 4 small slits on the side of your stomach, and then they go through your belly button, and they go in and they remove the fibroids. Cool. They said that the chances of them growing back are pretty high, but it'll give you some time. And people get pregnant with fibroids, so it wasn't like an emergency type situation where, you have to get these removed or you're never going to get pregnant. That wasn't the case. People get pregnant all the time with fibroids. After the surgery, they said that the biggest one was about 10 centimeters, which is huge. I mean, that's the size of a baby's head, and you have to be dilated 10 centimeters. Like, that's big. So it probably took up majority of my uterus. So I was like, oh, well, that's why I couldn't get pregnant. I had the surgery, and I was waiting for the okay to begin trying again. And they said about 3 months. Like, whenever you're feeling better, but surgically and, medically inside, you need your body to heal. And they said about 3 months, we'll do a scan, like we'll check it out and we'll see if you're ready. So we did all that, and then I was cleared. We were ready to start again. So we started again. We tried. I was still doing all the prenatals. I was still doing all the vitamins, all the stuff. Herbal teas every day. Eating healthy, eating vegetables, eating fruits, eating, no smoking, no drinking, none of, all the things. Oh, I took out all the toxic products too. So I went through my whole entire house and took out everything that they say is bad. So there was no reason for me not to get pregnant, according to everything, right? According to all the data, according to people, according to everything. But I still wasn't getting pregnant. It was a lot. It was a long time to be continually disappointed every month. It was a lot. After 6 months of trying after surgery, we decided to do a few rounds of Clomid, which is a drug that's supposed to help your body do what it needs to do to get pregnant. We did it 3 rounds with no luck. After the 3 rounds of Clomid, it was time for an OB appointment. He did the ultrasound as he always does, and he told me that my fibroids had already grown back. Small, but they had grown back. So that meant that there was an imbalance in my body, and I was creating these fibroids, and it had been probably about 5 years, maybe a little less, 4.5, 5 years since we started trying. And I had also started after the first surgery, my heavy bleeding completely went away. So that was cool. At some point in the time between having my myomectomy surgery and where we were at, I got this back pain. It was inside. It felt like it was inside of me, not like structural back pain where I lifted something and I pulled something, right? Like it was inside. I always tell that it's inside. And when I say, oh yeah, my back hurts, and people are like, oh, you should go stretch or, go get a massage or whatever. And I say, well, no, it's not like my back. It's inside. Like it's literally inside. And no one that I've ever met or talked to really understood that. Even to today. It's crazy to me to think that no one else knows what I'm talking about. I don't know. So that had started. It was worse during my period, but not always. And it was weird. It was when I had to go to the bathroom, it would flare up and be just terrible pain. And it was a lot. It was right after that OB appointment that I found out that the fibroids had grown back. And I almost was like, I was just tired, I think. I was in pain. I was tired. I kept trying and nothing was working. I never got a faint positive. I was never, like it was exhausting. And it was a lot. And I don't know if I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm guessing that was the case. I just didn't want to do it anymore because it was a lot. So at that point, I needed to make a decision on what I was going to do. My fibroids had grown back, which meant they were just going to keep growing. I could go in and have another surgery to get them removed again and create more scar tissue, or I could get a hysterectomy. I chose a hysterectomy because I was in so much pain and it wasn't working. And we had now tried for 4.5, 5 years, and it was too much. We needed a change. We needed a different situation in our lives. It was a lot. I had my hysterectomy in September of 21. On the day of the surgery, my doctor said to me, "This is what's going to happen. We're going to go in. We're going to take your uterus. We're going to check out your ovaries. If they look okay, we'll leave them. If they don't, if there's a cyst or other things, if they just don't look good, we're going to take them. But if we take them, you're going to be in full menopause." That was scary since I was only 37 and I didn't know what that was going to look like. But I was hopeful that they didn't have to do that. I was thinking that they weren't going to take my ovaries, but then also I was thinking that would be a reason, an explanation for why I wasn't getting pregnant. So then he said, if there's anything else in there that looks weird, we'll take care of it, I can't remember if there was even talk about endometriosis at that point. I would imagine that there was. But they can't see it until they're inside. So I can't remember if he had told me about that, maybe guessing that my back pain was due to endometriosis, but I don't remember. So I had the surgery. I woke up with no uterus, no ovaries, and they had removed a bunch of endometriosis and told me that the endometriosis attached from on the outside of my uterus to my bladder, and on the other end, which was on the outside of my uterus, to my, I don't know if it was my bowels or my intestines or something in that area, which was causing my pain. Because endometriosis, if you don't know, is your uterine lining. And when it's inside your uterus, it's okay. But if it gets out, that's endometriosis. So it's your uterine lining, but on the outside of your uterus, and it attaches to things. And during your period, it gets inflamed, and it doesn't know what to do because it's not where it's supposed to be. So, and then it just grows and grows and grows. That's probably not a very good explanation, but that's my explanation. That's kind of what I was told. So then he said he removed a bunch of other spots, plus obviously he took my uterus, so he detached all of that stuff. He said that within time it would get better. Like your pain would get better, maybe not right away. I think it just needs time for the endometriosis to die off at that point, but it doesn't have anything further to grow because I don't have a uterus. So there's nothing for it to continue. However, the stuff that's already in there is still in there. If it's small, like he took what he could. They took my ovaries because one of them had a cyst, and I think that the other one had endometriosis on it. I'm pretty sure. They could have took one and left the other, but for some he took them both. So there was a reason for it. I think they just didn't look healthy. They took them both. At that point, I just chalked my infertility up to the trifecta of fibroids, PCOS, and endometriosis. And it just was, everything was working against me in getting pregnant. And that's what it is. There's people that have just one of those things and it inhibits them from getting pregnant. And I had all three. So I don't know how much they know. I think, I don't know about the cysts on my ovaries. I'm not sure about that. I never looked into it. It was never a thing, so I never looked into it. But I do think that I've heard and read and seen things about fibroids growing on estrogen and endometriosis growing on estrogen, which probably in excess of estrogen, which, okay, at that point, I was doing things to try to balance my hormones, my progesterone, my estrogen, and taking these herbal supplements that were supposed to aid your body in doing what it needed to do, and it just didn't work. But given that information, it seemed like my body had way too much estrogen because it was growing all of these things. But at that time, I had my hysterectomy, and that chapter was over. I now had to heal from this second major surgery and try to find or figure out a new purpose in what I thought my life was going to look like. Because for so long, I always said I would have kids by the time I was 25. 25 came and went. Not happening. Then all of a sudden I was 30. And I still had that. Like, obviously not that I was going to have kids by the time I was 25, but that I was going to have kids. And then 37, nope. So it just was how it worked out. We tried. I feel like I tried. I gave it my all. I didn't feel like IUI was my path. I felt like if my body wasn't able to do it naturally, I wasn't going to force it. I didn't want to take drugs. I didn't want to take anything more than I had already done for the last 5 years. I think I was just tired, and I was done. That was the choice. That was the decision that we made, and we were okay with it. IVF was completely out. There was no way I was going to force my body to do all of that stuff. That wasn't for me at all. And I don't have the money for that either. So I wasn't even gonna, I didn't even think about it beyond that. I guess I didn't, I just didn't see myself doing that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was my fertility story. Started out really hopeful, and then it just didn't work out for us, and that's okay. Life goes on. I think that there's reasons for it being the way that it is, and that's all. There's not much I can do about it. I did what I could, and it didn't work. So I'm still working on figuring out what life is supposed to look like now that it doesn't look like everybody else's lives, if that makes sense. I was kind of thrown a curveball 5 months later to where I got estrogen positive breast cancer. So that will be the next video. Stay tuned for that. It's another exciting time. It's been a long 10 years, I guess. 8 years. Leave a comment below if you've been in a similar situation, or if you have any questions about what I talked about. I can try to elaborate on some of that stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye.